Hello, everybody. It is Monday, and I'm back. Evolve Global 22, Evolve into Wholeness. This is Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio. We come on live every weeknight, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The message is live in your power, heal in your divine light, live in your power. And we have a theme for every night. It is a place that is sacred. This is a place that is safe, where we learn from each other and we grow and evolve together. We heal in our community of light. And just to remind you, Mondays are Mindful Moments Micro Learning. We are exploring the book, The Science of the Sacred, Bridging Global Indigenous Medicine Systems and Modern Scientific Principles. And we are going to get into that in a moment. Tuesdays are Healing in Real Life. We talk about challenges. We talk about successes. We talk about big wins, big losses, small losses. We talk about whatever it comes up and is in the moment for any of us, myself or you. Sometimes I talk about my own personal experiences. Sometimes I talk about clients that I've worked with and things that they've dealt with. And then I'm hoping one day, hello, Steph. How are you? Thank you for joining tonight. As all of you can see, I have my chat overlay here so I can actually see the chats while I'm talking. I hope I don't miss anyone. But as I was saying, Tuesday nights are Healing in Real Life. Wednesday are Threads of Trinity. We crochet and knit together. Or if you don't crochet and knit, you could start. Or if you have another creative talent that you do, you can come and do it with us here. Creativity is healing. And then Thursday is Light Talk and Spirit Flow. We talk about spirituality. It is not about a specific religion, although religion can come into it. I talk a lot about the 3 Abrahamic religions. I talk a lot about other philosophies that I have kind of dabbled in a little bit. And then Friday is Wellness Drop-In, and we launch into the weekend with intention and purpose. Before I forget, let me just make sure that I tell you, this week in the US, it is Thanksgiving. So this week, Thursday, we will not be live. So Thursday night, we're taking off, but we will be here on Friday. So just be reminded, Thursday is a holiday here in the USA. So we will not be live this Thursday. Now, I have put in the chat, I encourage every single one of you to visit our website, www.evolveglobal22usa.com. I also encourage you to visit my Facebook page, Circle of Light. The link is in the chat for you. I just realized tonight that on the page, I can't live stream to it yet because there's not enough followers there. I started that not too long ago as a branch off of my profile on Facebook. So that's what that's about. Now, this week, tonight is micro learning, and we're going to talk about our book, The Science of the Sacred. Now we're going to do a review, just a short little review of the introduction and chapter 1, but chapter 2 is tonight, and it's called The Natural Geneticist. And the quote that it starts with, I love quotes. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. And that was attributed to Charles Darwin. So keep that quote in mind, but let's just kind of review, and let me get my notes because, I can't remember all this stuff off the top of my head. So let's just talk a minute. And I am working on Mindful Moments book companion series. I'm going to do one of these for every book or document or whatever we explore on Monday nights. In the future, they'll be prepared when we start. I'm preparing this kind of as I go, and I'm going to put it up later for anybody who wants it. But anyways, let's talk about the introduction. Okay, so in the introduction, and I'm going to just talk about some important key points, highlights, just to remind us. So some emphasis, some ideas that were emphasized in the introduction was everything is connected. Indigenous medicine sees the human being as part of a larger web. Nature, animals, seasons, land, spirit, community all influence our health. Modern science traditionally looks at parts in isolation. So this book aims to bring those two views together. Number two, that's an emphasis is indigenous science is real science. Indigenous healers observe plants, people, cycles, patterns, etc. for millennia. This is empirical knowledge passed down through story, ceremony, practice. Many plant medicines and healing rituals have been backed up by new scientific research, but indigenous communities knew this long before the labs ever proved it. Three, another important point, Western science is powerful, but incomplete. You know, we have all the tools, the MRI machines, microscopes, all that stuff, but science misses spirituality, meaning, emotional and community healing, relationship with nature, and energetic principles. This book argues that healing improves when both systems are respected. And number four, a big point was in the introduction, colonialism disrupted indigenous medicine. And then five, healing must be holistic. A person cannot be healed by focusing on only one piece. Indigenous medicine looks at the body, the mind, the spirit, the soul, the community, land, lifestyle, purpose. This is the approach that we use at Evolve Global 22 and what all of our work embodies. The power of three is aligned with this worldview. And I'm going to, later on, I think tonight, I want to just give you a brief example of what it looks like when I actually have a client come to me. So let's look at, so that's the introduction. Let's see. So some learning points from the introduction. Healing is a whole system journey, not a single technique. The body has an ancient intelligence. We must learn how to listen again. Reconnection is medicine. Disconnection is disease. Ancient wisdom plus modern science is the future of healing. That's a big one. Ancient wisdom and modern science equals the future of healing. Another big one, and I've been saying this in many ways for quite some time, you are the healer of your life, not the system, not the world, not the circumstances. Now, so that kind of just gives you a reminder of the summation of the introduction. Now let's do the same thing for chapter 1, just to remind us. Chapter 1 is entitled The Natural Physicist. Now, in chapter 1, some of the points that were emphasized were Indigenous peoples understood natural forces deeply. They studied movement, balance, flow, energy, and cycles, the core pillars of physics. Now, my question that just popped into my head is, if that is the case and it's the core pillars of physics, then why do we as human beings have such an issue sometimes with energy and energy healing and the flow of energy within the human body? That's a question for thought. Number 2 that was emphasized in chapter 1, nature's patterns mirror the human body. Blockages, stagnation, flow, heat, cold, pressure, they all exist inside us and outside us. Next, balance is the foundation of health. balance in nature, balance in body. Imagine for a second if we didn't have balance in nature, for example, or think of places or issues that we're facing now in modern times, environmental issues where things are not in balance and what is happening. So there's something to that. Keep that in mind. The next thing, healing requires realignment with nature. When we restore relationship with land, breath, rhythm, and cycles, we heal. So the overall message of chapter 1 was nature operates through laws of flow, balance, and relationship. Humans are part of these laws, not separate from them. So illness arises when we fall out of alignment with these natural forces. Healing happens when we return to rhythm, balance, flow, intuition, seasonality, natural cycles, and the energy of land. The natural world is the blueprint for human healing. And then let's just quickly talk about some learning points that I either brought up or I would like to emphasize to make them clear. Natural forces shape your health. Energy medicine works with flow, stagnation, grounding, alignment. The same physics Indigenous peoples observed. People learn that symptoms are not random, they're signals of imbalance or blocked energy. Next, rhythm and routine restore body balance. Why does this matter? Because we are striving to stabilize our mood, digestion, and energy, and that is done through energy and balancing it and clearing out stagnant energy and the simple rhythms of energy. And then 3, disconnection is the root of many chronic issues. I don't even think I have to say anything about why that's important, because look at the chronic illnesses that we're dealing with today. It's incredible the number of chronic illnesses and disease that there are no answers or solutions for that exist, and how many people are actually suffering. Next, nature is a living teacher and medicine. Healing is returning to flow. So that was chapter 1. Now, let's talk about chapter 2 for tonight. We did a quick review. Let's talk about chapter 2. Now, remember that quote, which we started with, which begins chapter 2. It is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. And that's attributed to Charles Darwin. Now, I'm going to read one small excerpt, which is the very last paragraph of the chapter, and then I'm going to do a simplified version, and because I think it will, this chapter tends to be a little bit sciencey. So I want to give you a perspective before we do the simplified version. So let's just take a listen for a minute. We humans have 23 paired chromosomes, 46 chromosomes per cell in our bodies. It is estimated that we have 37.2 trillion cells in our bodies. This means a heck of a lot of total paired chromosome repeats in our bodies that control everything from our hair color to how we process vitamin D, to how well we break down a pesticide that was sprayed on the apples we eat. If you can understand more about your susceptibilities to everyday life, not necessarily to disease per se, although that is possible to a certain extent, through either modern functional genetic assessments or through traditional constitutional typing, it will help guide you through this world in a way that will support your genetic expression prompting happy and healthy epigenetic changes. We're going to talk a little bit about that, so don't worry. From the type of food you eat to the relaxation you achieve to the extra support you might utilize, having a basic understanding of your constitution and accepting it both mentally and physically will enable the next steps in health and well-being to be catered more specifically to you. Remember, your genes are not your destiny, but they are your tendency. And you therefore have the power to work with this tendency only as far as you have the knowledge and the awareness to proceed. And one of my goals is to promote and increase that knowledge. Remember when I started the live stream 2-3 weeks ago, I said knowledge is power, and that's why Monday nights we do this. But now let me read you a simplified version of chapter 2. And this is very short. The simplified versions, I only do a couple paragraphs. And then we'll go into a summary, and then we'll talk about it. This chapter reminds us that Indigenous peoples understood genetic patterns and inheritance long before Western science named DNA. They watched how traits traveled through families. They noticed how certain illness repeated. They saw how trauma and stress could echo across generations. And they also saw how strength, resilience, intuition, and gifts were inherited too. Most importantly, they understood that genes are not fixed. Environment, ceremony, land, connection, diet, community, healing, and spirituality can all influence how a trait expresses itself. Today, modern science calls this epigenetics. Indigenous wisdom simply lived it. The heart of this chapter is that you inherit more than biology. You inherit stories, patterns, strengths, wounds, wisdom, and memory. And your healing today can reshape what is passed forward tomorrow. Your lineage shapes you, but you also shape your lineage. Now, the summary of chapter 2, the natural geneticist. Chapter 2 explains how Indigenous peoples understand genetics, as I said, long before DNA science existed. Through generations of observation, land connection stories, experience, which was lived, Indigenous communities recognize the following: inherited traits, repeated patterns, ancestral strengths, ancestral wounds, intergenerational trauma, intergenerational resilience, environmental influence on health. They understood that a person's biology is shaped by lineage, land, lifestyle, emotion, and spirituality. Now, just a thought, again, that just popped into my head after reading that one line. They understood that a person's biology is shaped by lineage, land, lifestyle, emotion, and spirituality. The first thing that popped into my mind was mental illness and the mental health crisis that we have going on, particularly to the West, but it's really worldwide. But the West, it's really, really predominant. Think about that. Indigenous healers practice what modern science now calls epigenetics, the idea that environment and experience turn genes on and off, influencing what gets passed down. The chapter shows that genetics is not fixed. It is influenced by how we live, heal, and relate to the world. Now, let's just pause for a moment from my notes and let's think about that. So we have all these, let's put it into some real world context. So we have all of these chronic diseases, for example. Now, the past belief, or I don't know how many years ago, early in medicine, I guess, but not too long ago, and it still exists and it's still there. It was always bad genes. Oh, you got bad genes. You were unlucky. It was passed down through the genes. And they said this for the longest time about all sorts of different illnesses, heart disease, diabetes, many of the common chronic illnesses that we see, cancer today. This was the predominant theme. Well, it's not correct. It's not accurate. Genes do not determine your future. Yes, you can be predispositioned for certain things. Yes, that's accurate. However, how many people should that be? And how many diseases should that be? I mean, the health crisis and chronic illness in particular that we see, and cancer and all the things that we see that are common now, how can it be that many people just have bad genes? It can't be. In my mind, it can't be. What do you think, Steph? Did I catch you off guard? That's okay. But it can't be. It can't be that everybody has bad genes, like, or that a majority of the people have bad genes. So you think about it within the context of common chronic illnesses, cancer. Then you go to the mental health side of things, and same idea. Oh, thank you, Steph. Thank you. Um, the same idea, mental health. Yes, there are some mental health issues that, you know, perhaps can run in families or et cetera, whatever. I don't know if you say it's genes or whatever it is, but not to the extent that we see it. Not to the extent that we see it. It can't be that many people are struggling with their mental health, and it's passed down from generation to generation by genes or bad genes. So it goes across not only mental health, the common chronic illnesses, etc. Steph says your environment, what you eat, etc., affects your health, mental, physical, DNA. Yes, you're absolutely correct, Steph. Thank you for bringing that out. Absolutely. I was reading something the other day, and I can't go into detail on this because I don't have it in front of me. But based upon stress, the environment, stress, toxins, what we eat is a big, huge one, and what's in our food and actually what we eat. It can actually change. It actually changes your cells. And I believe that was in regards to something I was reading about cancer, that somebody was speaking about cancer. But just think about that. Like it's excuse me. If we know this, which many of us may not realize this, because also in our modern day life of we just want quick results, we just want to be entertained all the time, we just want quick sound bites of information. We really, and then we're not being told by people in various fields, in medicine and science and wherever, we're not being told as much. Like the common person, they just don't go around and they find opportunities or people in these fields to tell them the truth about some things, unless they have a problem and they're seeking out something. They probably have never heard of some of this. So it's really it's really important that we educate ourselves and we build an understanding, because some of the things all of the things actually that we talk on here, I never knew any of this back in the day. Nobody ever told me. No doctor ever told me any of this. No, in school I never learned any of this. Even when I was in because I took all the coursework to be an LPN, a licensed practical nurse, and even in nothing was ever said, and that wasn't that long ago. I mean, it was in the history of the world. That was what, maybe 30 years ago. So nobody ever. This was some of the things that we talk about here. I never heard of it. That's why I'm bringing it up. That's why I do what I do. But so chapter 2. Let's get back to chapter 2. So the overall message in chapter 2 is your lineage influences you, but it does not confine you. You carry memory, strength, wisdom, and possibility. Your healing choices today. Listen to this. Your healing choices today can rewrite patterns, interrupt trauma, strengthen resilience, influence future generations, honor the ancestors who couldn't heal. You are not the product of your lineage. You are also the healer of it. So I have some questions. Okay, Steph, hold on. I want to see this. A doctor once told me that they prescribe pills because people don't listen when they tell them what to do naturally. You know, that's pills are easier. Yeah. No, I believe that. I believe that. One example of that is, do you remember back in the day, Steph, when basically you go to the doctor, if you took your kids to the doctor or you went to the doctor, you got antibiotics very easy for everything. Like, I remember that with my own kids and with myself when I was younger. And now they don't, because it's not good to take antibiotics like that, because then they won't work when you actually really need them. But trying to, at that time, I remember standing in doctor's offices with my kids and parents wanting antibiotics for their kids because they knew that was the answer. And they were madder than fire because the doctor would not, after doctors figured this out, they wouldn't prescribe them that way anymore. And parents were mad, so mad. And they would argue and they would fuss and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I want to say something, Stephanie, about that pills are easier. That's something that is really, really important for all of us to recognize and think about. Yeah, you know why it's easier? Because if you have a symptom, you take a pill, the symptom almost immediately goes away. Not in everything, but generally, the symptom goes away. But the question is, is the problem solved? And the definitive answer to that is no. But the problem with us as human beings is we want the answer yesterday. And when we're ill, or when we don't feel well, or when we have a pain, or whatever it is, we want it gone yesterday. And we're oftentimes not willing to go through the process to figure out really what the problem is. And I tell you, when I get a new client, and we start working together, I tell them it's a bandage. You're right. It's just a Band-Aid. When I get a new client, I tell them, listen, when we start, after we do the assessments, after we do everything we do, and I get all the information and we devise a plan collaboratively, then what happens is I say, listen, it's going to get worse before it gets better. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Because, for example, I'll give an example. If you have been eating terribly for 20 years, your body's toxic, not only from the toxins that it gets in the environment and everything that we have to be around or that we consume that's in our food, but then we actually put toxins in our body because we think that we can't go without the Doritos, the this food, the bread, the whatever it is, whatever food that it is. So we stuff ourselves with all of that toxicity, and then your body becomes toxic. Then you start getting rashes, and you're sick, and you have inflammation, and you have aches and pains, and you're sick off and on all the time, whatever's going on. When you start to clear out, when you are doing something about it, so I'm working with somebody, and yes, addiction stuff. When we're working on issues and we have a plan in place and we're going through, the body will detox itself, just like with addiction to a drug. It'll detox itself as long as you continue the process and you don't keep feeding that, right? As it detoxes, what happens? The rashes get worse because the toxins are coming out into your skin, to the surface of your skin. So the rash is going to get worse before it gets better. The inflammation is going to start healing itself, which means it's going to get more inflamed likely before it starts actually healing, because again, the toxins are there, they're clearing out. So that's why when you start anything like this, if you've ever done a detox, or if you've ever done anything regarding changing drastically your eating or anything that you do, for about a week, sometimes 3 days, sometimes 3-4 days, week, usually it doesn't go much beyond 2 weeks, you're just miserable. Not only physically, but then you talk about mentally. You're tired, you're run down, you can't move, you have no energy, so it's not only physical, it's also mental. Then it's emotional, because now you got all these things going on and you're like, oh my God, I don't feel, this is terrible. So then it goes into emotional. So it affects and impacts everything, every component of us. So I always share with my clients, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But back to the whole idea of the pill, of taking a pill is easier. That's part of the reason why, because people won't, or as human beings, we don't want to be uncomfortable. That's the bottom line. We don't want to be uncomfortable. Why, if you have a drug addiction, if somebody has a drug addiction, why is it that most people go back and take the drug? They can't make it through the detox, especially on their own. It's really, 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 really uncomfortable. So, that's something to think about. And until we can get ourselves beyond that kind of mindset, then we can't really truly heal. And this, not only, it's easier to understand it when you're talking about food, but then when you go into your emotional and mental health, and you're talking about the things that are inside that are toxic to you, but you don't even really realize it, because they're not tangible things. It could be past trauma, could be a lot of things. So working through that, it's the same idea, it's just a different aspect of yourself. So I want to ask, I want to give us, let me get back to our book. I want to ask us to consider some reflection questions. So the first one is surrounding family patterns. What patterns have you seen repeat across your family line? I can tell you in mine, addictive behaviors. I would say obesity. Those are the two big ones. So when you look back, when you look back at your family, across your family line, and you see repeated patterns, that's something that we need. when we want to heal, need to be aware of. Inherited strength. What's one gift you inherited from your lineage? And I would say mine would be perseverance, just being strong-willed. Then under epigenetic awareness, do you believe your healing decisions can influence the next generation? Why or why not? That's a good one to think about, especially if you have children. For emotional lineage, is there an emotional or behavioral pattern you feel called to break? I can tell you one: guilt. Being made, we do this to parents, and I've been guilty of this myself and didn't even realize it. Just making your children come back into line and behave or whatever using guilt. Think about that. Let me see. Identity. What part of your ancestry do you want to reconnect with or honor more deeply? This one in the West is, I think this is a really important question to consider, because we've sort of gotten away from, like ancestral pattern, rituals and things that used to be. One that sticks out in my mind: Sunday dinners. Back in my grandmother's time, Sunday dinners were like every family, no matter what was going on in life, they always had Sunday dinners at mom's house or grandmom's house, wherever they were in the formation of their family, right? Well, that went away. That's just a simple, tangible kind of one that I can think of off the top of my head. But I think I know people that don't even really know their ancestry. Steph, thank you. I thought they were great reflection questions. I actually have them in a document that I'm creating for this. I can't place them in the thread here, but what I'll do is I will place them in the comment of the live stream video when it goes up, because it automatically goes up to YouTube, to my YouTube channel. And then I have to just put a title in the description. So I'll put it I'm going to start putting, start putting some of these things, especially the reflection questions, in the descriptions in the YouTube. Would that help you? Would that help you? And that's a good insight for the future. I might have it prepared for the future to be able to put the reflection questions in the chat. I didn't think about it. So thank you. That's a great suggestion for the future. And I will also have them, like I said, it usually takes me probably tomorrow to get it done. So just give it a day and then they should be there. So let's talk about just the learning points, because I always like to bring out the learning points of the chapter that we're working on, and why, and kind of why it matters. So healing yourself heals your lineage, and this matters because people realize that they are not just healing themselves, they are healing generations before and after them. Number two, a learning point that when I went through this, that popped into my head: daily living influences gene expression. And that's important because in order to understand that simple daily choices can shift inherited patterns. This one, oh my God, if I had to drive something home. Simple daily choices can shift inherited patterns. Number three, the learning point number three: trauma can be interrupted through regulation. People learn that trauma is not their identity. They can learn that. It is a pattern that can be changed. Number 4, inherited strength is real and accessible. If people stop focusing, this is why this matters. If people stop focusing on what's wrong and begin seeing what's powerful within them, if people stop focusing on what's wrong, they can begin seeing what's powerful within them. Number 5, you are the co-creator of your future health. People, when people when they get to a certain mindset and understanding, people are able to step into full ownership of their healing journey instead of waiting for someone else to fix them. I want to say something to this because when I started my healing journey, of course, I got coaches and all of this, and I used to go to the doctor, and I was at the doctor for, whatever things. I hardly ever go to the doctor. I don't remember. I don't remember the last time I went to the doctor. I don't think I've actually been to the doctor for any kind of illness. I'm going to say more than 5 years, but it could even be a decade. Like it could be since the beginning of my journey. The last time that I really had anything significantly done at a doctor's with a doctor is when I made the decision to, after I lost 100 pounds, over 100 pounds, when I was 300 pounds, I lost 100 or a little over 100 pounds myself. It was intense, and I got to the point where I just couldn't get the last portion off. My weight would fluctuate, and I decided to be drastic, and I went and had the gastric bypass or the gastric sleeve surgery. And I think that's the last major interaction I had with a doctor for some kind of illness. Now, I'm not talking about if you went and you were checked because you were in a car accident or there was an injury. I haven't had a major injury, but I had a little bump in a car accident. So I saw the doctor for that just to make sure everything, what was going on. But for illness, I haven't been, and I can't even remember when. Now, does that mean I'm against doctors? Absolutely not. We need that physicians, but I'm saying physicians and myself and other people who do this work need to work together. And physicians need to open their minds to this realm a little bit more, a little bit better, a little bit more easily. So what is the video? Is the internet lagging, Steph? Is it still lagging? I apologize if there's any lag. There's nothing I can do about it. I don't know why tonight there would be a lag. Or are you talking about the chat? Anyways, if you heard that question, just pop it in there. I'll see it. But yeah, so, when you talk about taking full ownership of your healing journey instead of waiting for somebody else to fix it, that's what happens. I do so many things in a day. Let me tell you, first of all, every morning I have certain practices that I do every single day. They include reading scripture from my holy book. You can read scripture from your holy book. It includes prayer. It includes I eat certain things in the morning, or I don't eat certain things in the morning. I eat certain foods just as a part of my diet regularly, and some things I don't eat at all. I've aligned my diet and what I eat with my body constitution. Remember that word in this chapter? My body constitution, my body type, my dominant body type. So I align everything with my body constitution as much as I possibly can. That also goes for lifestyle. Any kind of stress. Now, I'm not saying I never get stressed out, but I have learned to step back. And when something is continuously stressing me, I change it or I withdraw. I don't allow it in my life, in my existence. For example, I have certain uh, routines and exercises that I do for energy flow. I do clearings on myself. I do energy healing on myself. I do, like, there's just so many things that I do on a daily basis just to support my body's healing currently and to support it on a day to day. Now, let's say, for example, I start feeling a little unwell, or I am starting to get a cold or flu or whatever. I have certain plant-based products, essential oils, and other kind of supplement things that I use. Some I don't use every day. So depending on what my symptoms are and what I'm experiencing when I feel like I'm not too well, then I add the extra in. For example, one example is oregano. Oregano acts as an antibiotic. Don't wear oregano every day. Oregano is very strong. Do not use oregano every day. It's not a good practice. But I use it only when I feel like I'm coming down with something. That's an easy example. I have certain tea blends from Evolve Global 22 are my favorites. The Inflamease is a tea blend that I put together, that I designed, and that I use on a daily basis. So I drink it like water. I start it out hot. I keep the tea bag all in the cup all day, and I just keep refilling it. Sometimes I'll even, if I want something colder to drink, if it's not hot, then I'll put ice in it and I'll drink it cold. So that's one that fights inflammation. And then the other one is Immune U, which is good for supporting the immunity in the body. I use that one. So some days I'll use the Immune U, some days I'll use the Inflamease, but the Inflamease I use more often. So there's that I use to be able to support my body in sustaining or fighting off or warding off any kind of illness. But that was, after, I mean, that's been a process. I didn't know all of this when I first started, and I didn't use all of the things that I use now. All of the rituals, I connect every day with Source, the creator of all that is, God. I connect every day with the energies of the universe. I connect every day with people that I'm surrounded by, so humanity. And I connect every day with myself. And I just thought of something. I was thinking about this chapter so much. I always start the live stream. I didn't start the live stream today with the ritual that we have been, but we're going to end it with it. Okay. So it's not to say that you never forget or you never miss one of your practices. Missing one once in a while is not a big deal once you're consistent. But if you totally put them to the wayside, then it's a problem, because then your defense system is broken down. Another thing I use sound therapy. So I'll use certain frequencies, music, certain types of music, certain types of sound. If you've never had a sound bath, it's amazing, beautiful. That's another thing. Color, using color in healing. That's another piece and component. Crocheting and knitting for me is therapy. It takes everything and kind of like just wraps it up, the color, the texture, the actual doing something with your hands. So there's a lot of things that I do in my life that supports my overall healing. Now, what happens when somebody comes to Evolve Global 22 and comes to me and they're kind of stuck and they want a help, they want help, and they want the program, they want the full, they're all in. What happens? This is what happens. Number one, I tell them, listen, don't stress. We're not here to stress. Breathe with me and just listen for a moment. First, I'm going to make you a welcome packet. And part of that welcome packet is an Ayurvedic body assessment so that we can know what your dosha or body type, body constitution, the dominant one in your body, what it is. You will take that assessment. Then that will give me information that I need to know. There's an intake paperwork that goes through all of the powers of 3 and additional information, like as if you go to any doctor. Everything is covered. Everything is protected by HIPAA. So then we talk about your physical health, any kinds of disease, chronic illness, things you're experiencing, pain, et cetera, et cetera. We talk about your physical health. There's an assessment, that's part of the overall assessment. We talk about your mental health. That's part of the overall assessment. We talk about your spiritual and your emotional health. All of that is in the intake paperwork. So that gives me a picture of the whole you. From that picture and from our conversation, then I design a plan to be able to bring you back, because you're definitely not the person is definitely not in alignment. They're definitely imbalanced. So we identify, we set up and get you a plan with the intention that it's going to get you back into balance. The plan is a living document that continues. So when something isn't working right or something happens in life or whatever, we change it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we start learning different rituals and strategies and practices and things that you can do every day, any time of day. Some are very, very simple and some are take a little bit more time, but you start implementing one thing at a time. And I support you in that, because a lot of people will say, well, I don't know how to do it. And I break it down and make it very easy. We do it together often. I do a lot of healings and do a lot of work with your chakras, clearing your energy, balancing your energy, restoring your energy. That's something that we do. And I do that in different sessions that we have together. So really, we're talking about looking at every aspect of your life and you, addressing every aspect of your life and you, clearing out the debris, all of the debris that doesn't need to be there, restoring with clean, divine energy, and then practices and food intake and things that are going to help you to come back into alignment with you. And let me tell you, it only takes some people have a harder time than others, but really to start feeling better. Some people start feeling, especially when they do a healing session to start with, which we do, they tend to start to feel a little bit better right away. Now, depending on where they are in their food intake and toxicity levels and all of that, then that will determine how much of a hard time they're going to have the first few days with like detoxing and in their body, cleaning things out. But overall, that's really where we start. And then after that, it's just building upon those principles, the unique, individualized healing, health, and wellness plan that you have, the practices that we implement right away, the healings and meditations and different things that we do together or that I do for you. Those three areas are where we start, and we focus very methodically. And it's not overwhelming. Nothing is made to be overwhelming. And we take it a step at a time, and we take it slowly. And then as you build, you get into more advanced practices, more advanced things where you work on a lot of your internal, your intuition, your internal, and how you can work to healing yourself. So that gives you an idea. But back to our book, just to close it up, because we are running on, what time is it? We're almost at an hour, and I don't want to keep you all longer, but I want us to just remember that tonight was about family patterns, epigenetic awareness, emotional lineage, identity. And the most important takeaway from all of this tonight in chapter 2 was you can become your own healer. It's not just I'm a victim of my genetics or whatever. Now, let's shift. I hope you enjoyed that portion and our exploration of chapter 2 in our book. Now, I'm going to switch this up a little bit, because every chapter I end with, I started ending with a closing affirmation and an intention to carry forward. But before we do that, since I missed our opening mantra and our breath work and all of that, I just jumped right in and forgot. I want you to take a moment, and I want you to do this breathing. This is one simple strategy. You can use this. It's good for stress release, emotional calm. It's good for focus. It's good for so many things. But remember, it's in through the nose and then push out through the mouth. Slowly, the breath comes out through the mouth, but push, make the hand motion with your hand, because you're just going to clear and push all the emails, stress, anxiety, conversations, mean words, negativities, anything that is kind of weighing you down, and just get rid of it before you go off to bed tonight. So let's do this. Remember, I do 3. So let's breathe slowly in through the nose and out through the mouth, and push everything away. Again, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Push all that debris away, out into the universe to be destroyed. In through the nose and out through the mouth. Blow it all away to be destroyed. Now, the hand over the heart. This is the connection to you, the connection to the creator of all that is. This is where that happens. And this is the easiest, most simple thing that you can do to make that connection, not only to yourself, but to your creator. So put your hand over your heart. You take a moment, just breathe your regular breath. Remember, breath is life force. Just breathe regularly. And in your mind, with your inner voice, you just say, I make the intention to connect with my heart. So let's do that now. I make the intention to connect with my heart. Okay, now let's end with a closing affirmation. Now, this is the closing affirmation for chapter 2. I reconnect, repeat after me. I reconnect with the wisdom of nature. I honor the natural physician within me. My body knows how to heal, restore, and realign. I trust the rhythms of the earth, and I trust the healing intelligence inside me. Let's do that one more time. Repeat after me. I reconnect with the wisdom of nature. I honor the natural physician within me. My body knows how to heal, restore, and realign. I trust the rhythms of the earth, and I trust the healing intelligence inside me. And last, an intention to carry us forward. As I leave this space, repeat after me. As I leave this space, I choose to stay curious, open, and devoted to my healing. I welcome new knowledge, deeper understanding, and the courage to grow. Each step I take from here expands my wisdom, strengthens my spirit, and leads me further into the fullness of who I am becoming. And on that note, my friends, we will stop for tonight. When you go to my YouTube channel to see this video again, if you would like, I will put in the closing affirmation, the intention to carry us forward, some other probably information, but especially the reflection questions, so you can take them right from there. And I will work those into the live streams in the future when we're doing our exploration of the science of the sacred, bridging global indigenous medicine systems and modern scientific principles. You all have a very, very, very wonderful night. Endless love, peace, and light on you. Take care and stay safe.